And part of me wanted to say, well, I'm not going to let them force me to lose all of that. It's just wrong. I was just more frustrated than personally offended by it. I guess maybe I had a hope that we could turn it around, or I think here's what I thought. I thought, okay, the recall is going to be successful. Everything is going to go down the toilet afterwards. Everyone is going to suddenly think, oh, wow, we made a huge mistake. This is terrible. And then we will be able to somehow recover.
HOA Insights is brought to you by 5 companies that care about board members: Association Insights and Marketplace, Association Reserves, Community Financials, Kevin Davis Insurance Services, and the Inspectors of Election. You'll find links to their website and social media in the show notes.
Welcome back to HOA Insights, Common Sense for Common Areas. I'm Robert Nordland, and I'm here today for episode number 169 with a special board member guest whom you've heard previously on our program in episode number 112. Helen is a regular listener and was a board member at her association in Southern California until she was ousted in a leadership upheaval, or you could say a coup, over budget issues. Now she's an interested homeowner doing all she can from a homeowner point of view in her attempt to keep new leadership from making foolish decisions that will damage home values. Now, I hope this is not the case at your association. A rogue board who doesn't appreciate that associations are corporations that need to function responsibly and that owning and maintaining real estate is fundamentally expensive. But we want to share Helen's experience because things like this do happen, and for all the lessons that she's learning about what a homeowner can and can't do to exert her influence. Now, if you're a new listener, we're here weekly with episodes to help you with the hard work of being a board member. Last week, for example, was episode number 168 with regular co-host Julie Adaman, sharing insights from her experience with association leadership and management issues. If you missed it, you can catch prior episodes, number 112, where we had Helen before, or last week's. You can catch those episodes on our website, on any major podcast platform, or on our YouTube channel. And if you like the show, by all means, subscribe and join in our mission to improve board member leadership all across the country, one episode and one association at a time. Well, those of you watching on YouTube can see the HOA Insights mug that I have here that I got from our merch store, which you can browse through from our hoainsights.org website or the link in our show notes. In addition to some board member merch for sale, we have some great free stuff there like board member Zoom backgrounds that you can download for your next online meeting. Well, we enjoy hearing from you, responding to the issues you're facing at your association. So if you have a hot topic, a crazy story, not like there's any in the community association industry, or a question that you'd like us to address, you can contact us at 805-203-3130. or email us at podcast@hoainsights.org. But today's episode is on me. Helen and I have continued to correspond since her appearance on the show, episode 112, and she's in an interesting place now, concerned about her home values, concerned about her reputation as a prior board member, what they did for the association, but now she's doing all this from the point of view as a homeowner. So Helen, welcome back to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back again.
Well, tell us to start with, how long has it been since the board was almost completely removed and replaced?
So it's been just over a year. We have a board of 5 people, and when we had the recall, 3 of the 5 were recalled. And so that was all focused on a contentious special assessment, and the recall effort was focused on replacing those of us who wanted the special assessment with, there were 2 people on the board already who did not want the special assessment. There were 3 of us who did. And so obviously that created voting. We had voting priority, I guess.
Yeah,
exactly. Divided board. And so the recall effort was focused on replacing the 3 of us who did want the special assessment with 3 people who did not. So then there would be unanimous board who did not want the special assessment.
Right, or at least a majority. Now, Was a special assessment for a big Christmas party or something fun, or was it for something that was just fundamentally necessary to the association?
No, it was for balcony repairs, which
Okay.
you probably know are a big deal, at least in California and probably in other states too. And also retrofitting, which is also a big deal in California, obviously. And both of those were urgent, important, expensive, and the reserves were not sufficient to cover them. So we were moving ahead with a special assessment plan.
Yeah. And I almost want to say that's normally what an association does when they find out that they need money for a roof or balconies or asphalt and they don't have it in reserves. You play the special assessment card and you say, oh, darn, tough on us, but everyone needs to belly up and pay the money because our association needs this. Is it kind of that simple?
Exactly. I mean, it's nobody's ideal. Ideally, that you would have enough accumulated in the reserves that you could cover everything that you needed to. But if you don't, then I think you just have to bite the bullet and say, well, we need to raise X amount of dollars for this particular project or projects. This is unavoidable. And just let the homeowners know as far in advance as possible, I think.
Yeah. I see that expenses are expenses. The property needs a roof, it needs paint, it needs asphalt, and those things maintain property values. And it's in the board's best interest to keep the association well maintained and looking nice. And that is good for community spirit. When people, homeowners or board members, tend to focus on the homeowner assessments, I think they're missing the target because the homeowner assessments aren't the costs. The balcony and the roof and the asphalt, those are the costs. Everyone that's a member of the association, they're just providing the income for those essential expenses at the association.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you want to clamp down on what the homeowner is paying, the bills are still there.
That's right. And there's inflation, and as you say, Mother Nature and Father Time, and so things get more expensive over time. And so the longer you procrastinate over these expenses and these repairs, then it just gets more expensive over time.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to leak the big news early, and why don't we just go there? Okay, so you've been off the board over a year. There's been a budget cycle or two. And this new board has taken the reins of the association. And what are they now doing?
Well, we can go back to the recall, which was the recall campaign, which was extremely organized, extremely aggressive. Made some promises to the homeowners. If we are successful, then we're going to do A, B, C, D. And so when the new board got in, then they proceeded to do everything that they had promised their supporters.
Which is primarily no special assessment.
Yes, they canceled the repairs. They terminated relationships with the vendors. We lost our property management company, who were unwilling to work with the new board, but realistically probably would have had their contract terminated anyway. They changed the HOA lawyer, so they just removed all of the existing relationships. And then they, fast forward, they very quickly realized that we do need balcony repairs. We do need earthquake retrofitting. We do. And then there are another bunch of other things that they now have to consider because the insurance companies are mandating that certain things are done. There's a liability that goes with not doing those things. And so, cut to the chase, the special assessment is back on. And interestingly, it's almost exactly the same amount that we were proposing at the time. Complete 180. It's a complete 180 with no apologies, almost like it was always their plan. So
their plan, and you shared something with me before the program. The reason for the special assessment is blame?
Oh, blame. Yes. They said, how did we get here? We got here because the previous board was negligent. Which is an interesting argument to make, considering that we were recalled specifically to stop repairs and to stop special assessment. So,
yeah, that's crazy.
Strange. I know it is absolutely crazy, and I can't believe they're even trying that argument. But yeah.
Well, maybe they're functioning on the philosophy that if you say it often enough, loud enough, people will believe it.
I'm shocked that anyone believes it. Because we remember it's not that long ago that the recall happened, and we were trying to, raise the alarm that we have repairs that need to be done really urgently. The reserves are not adequate. We need a special assessment. That was our whole mantra, and they just kept saying no. The repairs. They accepted that repairs were. We had repairs that could be done, but they said, oh, they're not that urgent. They don't need to be that extensive. We should be able to fund them from the reserves. We just spread it out over 5-10 years. Yeah, like forever.
Phase it out.
Phase it out forever and ever. Now they realize that's not going to work. And so we're kind of right back, in some ways, right back where we started from, and in many ways in a worse position than when we started.
Well, yeah, I hear the worst position because the building still needs the repairs, and you've got a couple more years worth of inflation. And it sounds like the insurance company is, I don't want to say piled on, but the timing is there that they need some things done, or your premiums are probably going to go way up, or you'll get canceled or something like that. Oh, and then we have Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in there also wanting to make sure that your building is in good condition. They like sustainability. That's good for property values. And now I'm wringing my hands just about this whole situation. Okay, this must have felt like a real slap in the face to you, because a special assessment is not fun. And it takes a lot of courage to do that. And they kicked you off to the side.
It was definitely painful. I'm a homeowner too, so I would have to, the board members have to pay the special assessment. So it's not like there's anything, we weren't going to skirt that. So it's definitely everyone's last option, or last preferred option. But yeah, it was hard. And I think the recall campaign was particularly aggressive, motivated people to vote for the recall by saying that myself and the other board members were at best incompetent and at worst corrupt. And they made flyers and put flyers all over the building with our names on it, how we were just terrible, horrible, no good people. And the property management was terrible, and the vendor was corrupt and just trying to make money. And it was this whole conspiracy theory narrative that was just created to motivate people to get really angry and to vote for the recall. And so I think trying to survive that, it sounds weird, not take it personally. It was intensely personal, but you realize that it's not really personal because they're just angry. They're angry, they have to pay money.
Yeah.
I genuinely know I was doing what I felt was the best, and I still think was the best. So kind of trying to separate myself from that.
Yeah. Well, I think seeing that the new board is facing exactly the same expenses, if not higher, that you faced, and they've come around, like you said, 180 degrees from being adamantly against it to realizing that, oh, that is the path forward. And we are board members of this corporation, and we have, even though we don't like it, we have a responsibility to raise the money to care for the common areas. A couple more follow-ups. Did you consider selling and moving and saying, I'm out, I don't want to live here?
Yes, for a very for a hot minute. But I really love where we live. It's a great community. It's a great part of town. There's so much that we enjoy. We enjoy our neighbors. And part of me wanted to say, well, I'm not going to let them force me to lose all of that. It's just wrong. I was just more frustrated than personally offended by it. I guess maybe I had a hope that we could turn it around, or I think here's what I thought. I thought, okay, the recall is going to be successful. Everything is going to go down the toilet afterwards. Everyone is going to suddenly think, oh, wow, we made a huge mistake.
Yeah.
This is terrible. And then we will be able to somehow recover. And I still hope that will be the case. I haven't given up on that. But it's, we're more than a year past the recall now, and there's no sign. Well, the special assessment is back on, which I think is good.
Yes.
But in terms of the community recovering, and it's going to take a very long time before I feel like people have realized the mistake that we've made. They've accepted the special assessment to some degree, but I feel like they still haven't pulled back and looked and gone, oh, maybe this recall wasn't such a good idea, and we should have done the special assessment 2 years ago when it would have been, we would have got more for our money, I think.
How long are board terms at your association?
They are 2 years, and they're staggered 2 and 3.
Okay, so there may be some cycling out. I guess we'll wait and see. That'll be an episode in the future where we find out on that one. Let me ask also, is it a large enough community that your neighbors know you and you're still smiling when you come from your car with a couple bags of groceries? Do you still feel like your friends are still your friends?
Yeah, I do. Our immediate neighbors are really, really sweet. We also have some, great renters around us who, are probably blissfully ignorant of all of the drama of the HOA, especially during the recall, and probably continuing on. There are some people who won't make eye contact with me. We had one neighbor who wouldn't get in the elevator with me.
Really?
Yeah, some people just have, clearly, and I don't know if they're angry, if they're frustrated, if they're disappointed, I don't really know what's behind it, but it has impacted some relationships with neighbors, sadly.
Yeah, or maybe they don't know. They don't know if they can still like you or if they should dislike you. They know you, but they've heard bad things about you, and they just don't know the truth yet, and so they don't know how to work with that. Interesting. Okay. Tell me, what have you been doing? It sounds like you've been going to the board meetings.
Yes. And honestly, that was, if I can give some advice to anyone in my situation, I think that was probably one of the best things that we did. The 3 of us who were removed from the board, we just made a decision. The first board meeting after the recall is a really tough one. You have to kind of think, okay, how do I want to continue here? And there would be every reason in the world just to go and hide in your unit and put your feet up on the couch and say, I'm off the hook and I'm going to just enjoy my life. And also there was a lot of really open celebrating with the recall and rah, rah, we beat you. It was just really obnoxious. I didn't really want to deal with any more of that. But, I'm still a homeowner. I still care about the association. I still care what the board is saying, what the board is telling owners about different things, that some things I just know are not true. So I like to be there and hear what's being said. Ask some questions, maybe some more pointed questions than other homeowners would ask, because I know a bit more about the background. So the 3 of us who were moved from the board, we kind of got together for the first board meeting after the recall and decided, we do need to stay in the fight. Even though it's painful, we're not ashamed, we're not embarrassed, we're not going to slink into the shadows, which was kind of the pressure that's kind of how they were treating us, as if we had something to be ashamed of. And it's like, no, we were acting in good faith, trying to do the best we could. And we're going to sit in the front row of that board meeting and stay in it.
Feeling just a nice, great feeling that you and the other board members were there because you had done nothing wrong. You were there in the front row. It's still your association. You're still interested homeowners. Can we say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me.
Words will never hurt. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's really not true. Words really hurt.
Yeah, they can hurt. Yeah.
But you can be the bigger person and say, hey, I'm here to support my association. I guess I have one more question before we should probably take a break, and then we'll talk more about the board and the dynamics of that. But before we go to break, what do you think the chances are for a recall of the recall, with people rallying to now kick this board out for proposing a special assessment?
Oh, for proposing a special assessment, I think, I don't get any sense that there's any resistance to this special assessment. Strangely, this one is fine. Exactly the same dollar amount almost. But strangely, this one is fine and ours was not fine. And it was really about the personalities that they managed to demonize and connect to it. They painted it as being a corrupt process in the past. And this one is a pure process. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, so few people go to the board meetings but those are the people I see, and they tend to be the people who supported the recall. So I think I get a bit of a slanted view of what the average homeowner thinks. And I am really curious what generally homeowners think about this special assessment. Like, are they really feeling whiplash? They should be. Like, wait, you told me I didn't need a special assessment, that it was all, a big ruse. And now what happened? And, was it really the previous board who messed everything up? I'm curious. I'd like to do a survey.
Yeah, that would be very interesting. I have so many questions going on in my brain, but look at the time, and it's time to take a quick break. Helen, let's do just that. It's time to hear from one of our generous sponsors, after which we'll be back with more common sense for common areas.
Numbers matter, and we need numbers like game scores and bank balances to let us know where we stand. The same is true for your association. Is yours thriving or struggling? Let me introduce you to the FICO Health Score, like your own personal FICO credit score. Now in one simple number, owners and boards can learn the combined financial, physical, and operational health of their association. The good news, it's free at ourfico.com. That's our, FIPHO.com. Learn how your association measures up.
And we're back. Well, Helen, you told us that you've been going to board meetings, and not in an annoying way, but just proudly. You have nothing to hide, and I think that's fantastic. But how is the content or the tone different? Are they running a different kind of style of leadership there?
They are definitely doing that. One of the things that they tried to do to separate themselves from our board, to kind of draw the distinction, was to say that they were being much more transparent. They were listening to the homeowners. It's interesting because they talk a lot about transparency, a lot. Again, which is a good thing, right?
I'm in favor of transparency. Yeah.
I thought we were a transparent board also, but they talk a lot about it, but they do almost all of the meetings are executive sessions, which they have almost weekly.
Ooh.
Yes. And they have these monster agendas, which we get notified of like 24 hours ahead of time, which I'm pretty sure is not a good idea. And then the board meeting, the open session, has become just a kind of town hall for announcements of what they've already decided in executive session. So it's a really interesting, the transparency thing is you can say it, but I'm not seeing any of it. In fact, I'm seeing a lot less transparency than we had, because we don't actually get to see them doing any board business or any, discussing anything, or we don't see their views being shared, because the open sessions are literally just announcements, which honestly could be done by email, and then a very extended Q&A. But I think it's focused on making the homeowners feel less anxious, like they have the board's ear, like they're listening. So some of that is good, and I think they actually are doing a better job than we did at sort of managing homeowner anxiety.
Okay.
But I think the transparency thing is complete nonsense. It's just talk. It's just talk. What comes out in the minutes is so much more extensive than what was actually talked about at the meeting, which was interesting also. But I think that, they're focused on, now prospective buyers have access to a lot of information, and mortgage lenders have access to a lot of information, including meeting minutes. And so I get the sense that the meeting minutes are being crafted to reassure certain people that there's more things going on than there really is.
Interesting.
When
we've had episodes to talk about meeting minutes, they talk about meeting minutes are to be a summary of actions. It's not a PR piece. And meeting minutes should be short and concise. And the landscape contract was discussed, and we voted 3-2 to hire ABC Management Company, and just moving on the action. And the hearing from the homeowners is usually a short portion of the meeting, not you say, it sounds like it's more of a town hall than a business meeting. Yeah. And that's telling right there. Let's take you back to 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. What could you have done differently? Are there things you wish you could have done differently? Things like a vision statement or mission statement, or communicating more about an impending special assessment, or what do you have some thoughts about? If you had a time machine, what would you do differently?
I think the thing that I would do differently, it's been very interesting being a board member for a long time and then not being a board member for the first time in, probably 15 years. I was so used to knowing what was going on, and it's actually very hard to not know what's going on. And so I realized for the average homeowner, they really have very little idea if they don't go to board meetings, which most homeowners don't. And they don't read the minutes, which who knows how many homeowners do, but I suspect most don't read the minutes either. They really have no idea what's going on. And so I think if I could have the time again, I would probably prioritize just sending out weekly, maybe bi-weekly, so like newsletter, email, just bullet points. This is what's going on in our association, because it's really interesting how little information gets out there if you don't go to the meetings. And even then, it's kind of a little distorted because what gets in the minutes and what's talked about at the meetings is kind of, I feel like the homeowners are almost running the meeting and the board is just answering questions.
Got it. Geographically, the way the association is laid out, are there choke points? Like, could you have posted, rather than email it, could you have posted a newsletter at the door from the garage to the lobby or at the elevator banks, things like that? Are there places that are great communication spots?
Yeah, absolutely. We have notice boards. We have quite a big building and we have notice boards. We have, the elevators are great places to post notices, and we do use those spaces occasionally. So yeah, we could have done that. I think communication, I know you talk a lot about it on the podcast, but it really is shocking important it is. Now I'm on the other side of it. It's like, oh wow. It's interesting being in the dark. I feel like I'm in the dark.
Yeah. I wonder what the board's doing with my money.
I know.
That's crazy. Okay. Well, we do see one thing. We do see that, and you and I talked about this as we were preparing for this episode, questions that every board faces is, how much money do we have? How much money do we need? And when do we need it? And how are we going to get there? Sometimes there's that emotional reaction of, oh no, the homeowner assessments are going to go up again this year. They just went up last year. Or the special assessment. As a homeowner, you don't like that. But the board's got to do what the board's got to do. That balance the budget and maintain the common areas, collect the assessments, uphold the rules, provide for the sustainability of the association. There's not a lot of choices there. And so again, I find it fascinating that a rogue board that was 100% opposed to the special assessment is now lobbying to pass basically the same assessment. I find that absolutely fascinating. And it's very telling that the association physically drives the costs. It's not the choice of the board on what we want to set the assessments at.
That's exactly right. You have the numbers don't lie, and you can always say a particular vendor or contractor is exaggerating and, they're just trying to make money and, they're telling you things need to be done that really don't need to be done. But I think it's also tempting to just go with that argument as a way of avoiding telling the homeowners that they need to pay more in the HOA dues or have a special assessment. It's really, it's hard. You can't be popular. Some homeowners will be very angry with you. But that is the board's job, is to make sure that the HOA is funded and that the building gets repaired. So just have to,
forever ago, when I was president of my association, one of the first things we did was pass a special assessment. And because we just didn't have the money to take care of the place. It's a real political process to lobby the homeowners to understand that this is going to cost this much. We only have this much, and rainy season is coming. And it's our association. Speaking of that, did you have any unifying documents, a vision statement, a mission statement, something like that helped to provide continuity across boards?
We did not. And I think we would have been well served to have those. Continuity between boards is very difficult. And typically you just have one or two board members, because the terms are normally staggered. So you have, one person comes in, one person goes out, or, two people come in, two people come out. But in the case of a recall, it's such a dramatic change. And I think you lose a lot of institutional knowledge and just, the way of doing things, why things have been done a certain way. what the rules are, the policies are.
And why?
Yeah, and why exactly? There's always a why, even if something seems crazy, like, oh, why do we do this a certain way? Well, it's because something, there's always a reason.
Yeah, because garbage collection is on Tuesday. That's why we have the landscaper come on Monday. So all the vegetation waste gets taken away.
You have to see the big picture, and I think homeowners, a concerned homeowner who gets on the board maybe still only sees a very narrow piece of the pie. So trying to see the whole picture. Yeah.
Tell me about the importance of volunteers. Is the new board embracing volunteers, like for the landscaping committee or the finance committee or anything like that? Or are they kind of keeping things to themselves?
They are very concerned with keeping everyone happy.
Okay.
So the first committee they did set up was I think it's called the Community Life Committee, basically plan social events and things that kind of bring the community together, which is good and is especially needed after recall. Apart from that, I don't think there are any other committees. So that could be something that I think they would really benefit from. They've contacted specific homeowners who have expertise in specific industries for advice. I know they've done that, but I'm not aware of any other formal committees that they've been using.
Yeah. When I've heard of tension, obviously the transparency is good, for the board to reach out and embrace volunteers and to have a number of homeowners. It's also a very possible pipeline to future board members, but getting input, and it's a small time commitment, and again, more transparency, and you have more people peeking in and seeing the numbers and deciding, are we going to replant these things, or what are the pool hours? Are we going to change the pool hours? Or are we going to change the rules? Have a rules committee, spreading out the information burden and also gathering more people onto the team of leadership. Often I sense that that's a healthy thing. Well, Helen, I look at the clock and it's time. And before we started recording, we joked about this could be a mini series, and I do believe we're going to have you back. But let me ask you one last question before I wrap, and that's, are you going to run for the board again?
Good question. I really enjoyed being on the board, actually. I really did. Until the very end, I would consider it. There has actually been an annual meeting since the recall.
Okay.
And there's only 2 members of the recall board, the new board after the recall. There's only 2 members that are still surviving. They're on the board. There's been such a lot of turnover. So it hasn't been a very stable board.
Okay.
And people were asking me if I was going to run again, but it was only like 6 months after the recall. And a lot of the arguments that the recall campaigners used were still, they were very active. Yeah. They were still out there. It was too soon.
Yeah, the sentiment was still there against you.
The sentiment was, yeah, exactly. And I was not going to be successful in any way, shape, or form. It was just going to be a rerun of the recall. So I'll keep it in my back pocket as the future.
We get some homeowner mail to, podcast@hoainsights.org. And what do I do about my board? They're not doing open elections. They're not showing us the money. And we say, run for the board. And I just wondered if you are, what do you say, once burned, twice shy? But it sounds like your association could really benefit from having you back on the board. So we'll keep that as a maybe for the future.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, as a homeowner, you just want good leadership. You just want people who see what we see, the expenses are what they are. Just do the right thing, be brave. I will be happy with that. But if there's an opportunity for me to make a positive contribution, I'll certainly look into that too. So.
I love that. Helen, it was great having you on the program, back on the program, I should say, to get an update on what you're experiencing, supporting your association from a little bit the outside as a homeowner when you used to see the numbers and know all the numbers. So any final closing thoughts to share with the audience at this time?
It's so easy to let the homeowners think that they will never have to pay any extra money. And so I think the best boards can do is to just be honest about the finances, let the homeowners know what is coming, special assessments, increase in dues, just so they can plan their own personal finances. the board plans the HOA finances, and people have to plan their own personal finances. And the worst thing that they can hear is like, oh, you need a special assessment. Oh, no, you don't. Yes, you do. No, you don't. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Crazy making for any homeowner. So I think the best we can do is just be honest with our homeowners and help them plan.
Yep. Well, I don't think I ever asked you, is this a 4-figure special assessment or a 5-figure? How big are we talking here?
It's going to be about 16,000.
So it's a 5-figure special assessment. Yeah, this is a big deal.
Yeah, it's very significant. Yeah. And
well,
it takes a long time to plan these things too. So,
yeah.
Like it's not, you can't start one of those things quickly.
Well, if it was only $500, then I would have been surprised that they'd pull a recall for $500. But for 16 grand, that'll get under some people's skin, and I can understand the fight.
Well,
okay. Well, we'll probably have a follow-up in about a year to find out what went on.
Okay.
Did the special assessment pass?
That's right.
All these kinds of things. We certainly hope you learned some HOA insights from our discussion today that helps you bring common sense to your common areas. We look forward to having you join us for another great episode next week.
You've been listening to HOA Insights, Common Sense for Common Areas. You can listen to the show on our podcast website, hoainsights.org, or subscribe on any of the most popular podcast platforms. You can also watch the show on our YouTube channel. Check the show notes for helpful links. If you like the show and want to support the work we do, you can do so in a number of ways. The most important thing you can do is engage in the conversation. Leave a question in the comments section on our YouTube video. You can also email your questions or voice memos to podcast@hoainsights.org or leave us a voicemail at 805-203-3130. If you gain any insights from the show, please do us a huge favor by sharing the show with other board members you know. You can also support us by supporting the brands that sponsor this program. Please remember that the views and opinions expressed by the podcast do not constitute legal advice. You'll want to consult your own legal counsel before making any important decisions. Finally, this podcast was expertly mixed and mastered by Stokelight Video and Marketing. With Stokelight on your team, you'll reach more customers with marketing expertise that inspires action. See the show notes to connect with Stokelight.